Welcome to another edition of Tidetalk, where my co-host, Mr. Ryan Healy, and I dissect the intricacies of F1 racing and all that transpired at Silverstone today. Another 1-2 podium for McLaren, although controversy for a 10-second penalty awarded to Oscar Piastri for excessive braking. What you make of the result today in England?
I was really excited for Lando to actually finally get the win at Silverstone. And then, Nico Hulkenberg, P3, I think that got the people going.
239th career race in P3, so really good stuff there.
Absolutely love that. But, up the papaya. That's what we're here to talk about mostly because, big McLaren guys over here and, the 1-2, they're going to win the Constructors by, 10 races to go. Yeah.
By a champagne supernova, if you will.
Wow. Very good
stuff. Yeah, very. So, we got to do our normal filibustering here after a less than par result for RIFC. But what's up, everybody? And welcome back to Tide Talk. We're recording this one on Sunday, July 6th to discuss RIFC's 1-1 home USL Championship draw versus Birmingham Legion. Conduct our mid-year review. As you can see, we're nice and dressed up tonight. Share your takes and much, much more as always. Just a reminder, you can find each episode on YouTube, and if you're watching now, please take a second, smash that like button, and if you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure you click that subscribe button as well. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and if you listen on one of those, we'd really appreciate it if you took a minute to leave us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find Tide Talk. One last plug, if you're not already, go check out the RFC Club Collector app and enter the code TIDETALK25, all lowercase, all one word, to get an exclusive pack added to your collection today. So cozy up, crack a bear. Let's dive into this one. Mr. Healy, as you take that first gulp, how was your Sunday?
It was lovely. It's been a great weekend. I mean, obviously, besides the result last night, but Black Island for the 4th. Went to the game last night, and then got some good friends and family time. Did some pool action today, and then down to Proclamation for a little bit. So overall, good weekend, full of friends and family. How about yours?
Yeah, pretty good. Yesterday was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. The result, I think, could have gone a little bit better. But good day today. Got back in the grilling game, bought another Blackstone. So a little bit of a return to normalcy in the Kerwin household.
I was going to say, people are, wanting some acquisitions in the RFC universe. I think the biggest one today was you getting back in the Blackstone. Little here we go action.
It was good. I even splurged a little bit and bought the OXO grill carry system. Let me tell you, that is an absolute game changer if you're traversing different levels to get out to your grilling apparatus and setup. It made all the difference in the world. Andrew Quadros, I know, is in the chat. Be interested to get his take on the red bin. Do you put your raw in there or you cooked in there? So let me know in the chat. There's a red and a black. So want to see how he organizes his setup as well. But we are here to unfortunately discuss a kind of a disappointing draw, as RFC drew 1-1 versus Birmingham. And as I mentioned, Andrew said the red is for raw. That's totally what I went with too. So a good setup there. We're going to conduct our mid-year review, hence the fancy outfits, which will be pretty good. A lot of good comments getting in there. Justin with red, raw, black cooked as well. Absolutely love it. Grill Talk coming soon. Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed and smash that like button. But overall, a very good day. A very good atmospherical day, I'll say, at Tidewater on Saturday, as the lot was pretty filled pretty early. It was a very good tailgate atmosphere. Saw a lot of people. Parking was insane. We'll talk about getting out of the lot a little bit later as we get to people's good, bad, and the ugly, or good, better, best. We did dealer's choice for this one. But a lot of interesting talking points from this one, Mr. Healy.
Yeah, I mean, the lot was packed. I am someone who has...
You were early.
I know. I'm historically a little late. But no, it was awesome. I was there so early that I kept checking my phone being like, why isn't the lineup out? Why isn't the lineup out? And it was a ton of fun. I mean, it's always... win, lose, draw, it's always great seeing everybody. And the vibes, I think, were fantastic last night. You could tell it was a summer-long weekend. People were ready to go. And, it was an opponent that we all thought we had, we had their number. We had a good chance at. And I think people were really expecting 3 points there.
Yeah, I talked a little bit at the end of last episode about how both teams really struggled to score goals and maybe something was going to give. And unfortunately, we saw a goal each and nothing really give. throughout this one, but we'll get into that a little bit more. But overall, a great atmosphere. Walking in was pretty cool. The pretzel guy totally bought into the Defiance bit, did the Salt Bay sprinkle on there. And then we saw Rhode Island legend Connor McGlynn in line getting a pretzel and got to chant out he got a pretzel, and that was pretty awesome. I think you talked to Connor in the concourse about his Tidewater pretzel experiences.
Yeah, I saw Connor talking to RA, and had to run over because I needed to get the one key source of information, which was Connor's pretzel review. He said it was absolutely outstanding, which, as you all know, who are avid Tidetalk listeners, that is the shared opinion of Tidetalk here. So excited to get to try that.
Not just Tidetalk, Defiance as well, because we know Matt Jean is one of the biggest pretzel advocates there is out there. Even going as far as hosting one of the best Twitter spaces out there in our RIFC community about the pretzels themselves.
Yeah, I mean, up the pretzels, number one. I was really nervous when they announced it was a sellout attendance. I was like, well, there goes my pretzel for the night. Don't worry, everybody. I persevered. I got one. It was as delicious as always. They actually gave me two because I said they made them a little small, so they gave me two pretzels. Just a beautiful start to the game, and I thought that would carry over onto the pitch. And boy, oh boy, was I dead wrong.
I will say one tidbit that I think I picked up on last game, but 2 games ago when we were leaving, we saw a Sip of Sunshine can in the stands on the walk up, and I'm like, good for whoever snuck that in. But I didn't realize those were actually available in stadium. The first stand I went to that normally had them, the Taft Street Taco stand was out, so I had to walk all the way to the main entrance to the grab and go, and I ended up grabbing them there for Kelly and myself. But if you're in need of a good beverage in Tidewater, Sip of Sunshine, look no further. Just a class beer to have here in Rhode Island at the stadium.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Shout out to FQB who kind of gave us the go ahead there. But yeah, that main entrance over kind of the one next to the pretzel stand right there, that grab and go, they have a ton of great beer in there. Not that they don't have a
lot better than the one behind the supporters group. Is a much more diverse selection, I guess.
Yeah, no, a lot of IPAs in there if you're into IPAs. But yeah, I mean, overall, the vending has been very good at the stadium so far. So excited about that.
Vending very good. Lines a little bit. And
hey, I have to give them credit. Sold out crowd last night. They were churning. Through people. And I have to give them credit there. I was really nervous because there have been some slower nights. I think they were on it last night.
Well, let's continue with the vending talk merch a little bit. I was finally able to get my hands on this lovely branded Bills RIFC cap. I know yours, the front badge fell off. Mine's on there pretty good. Was yours showing any signs of fault at the beginning, or like were you worried at all at the beginning, or
couldn't have been less worried? I didn't even know what happened when it did. Someone pointed out that the crest fell off, so I had no idea it was going to happen. Got some Gorilla Glue really doing its job up here. So I don't know. I can't give any tips on like what to look out for in terms of fading, but a little Gorilla Glue and we're back up and running here.
All right. I will throw out a public service announcement as one of the big-headed brethren. If you have a large dome like myself, they are pretty big head friendly, and they're also pretty sweat resistant. As I know you and I both sweat looking at a picture of the sun, maybe as much as a whore in church, if you would. But they don't really stain. They do hold up pretty well, and they had it in a nice gray too. I was kind of torn because I knew you had this one, but I also thought for production value, I'm going to match my co-host. I'm going to make it work. And I also was able to grab the USA scarf on attempt 2, which they actually had a plethora of. So good seeing the shop get restocked and get some new items in there.
I mean, for everyone screaming acquisitions, it's not the Tidetalk crew who's holding the team back. We are trying to give them all of the money we have. So it's good to know.
I always talk about too, like how I randomly will have cash on me and be like, well, if I walk in that stadium with cash, I would totally spend it. But the cashless era that we live in, our day and age, is kind of a deterrent to that. And it just kind of gets folded and washed and rewashed in my pocket. But that's that. But I guess let's dive into this one. Thanks for sticking with us.
Speaking of acquisitions, I have one more. Shout out to the Robin Front guys. I got somehow the last Godzilla shirt that they had.
Medium.
I was planning to wear that tonight until we cooked up this mid-year review scheme. So I will probably be wearing that next pod. But yeah, shout out to Robin Front. The stuff that they're doing, go follow them on socials. I know they're big on Instagram. But yeah, their visuals, the stuff that they're producing for the Defiance, they have flags. They got just a lot of really cool stuff going on there. So check out Robin Front.
And their merch is absolutely insane. If you walk around M7 a lot and you hear German music playing, you're heading in the right direction. Chris always has a big tent and grill going, so they get a really good group over there, and their merch is, I think, second to none. So you can also, like you said, follow them on socials, send them a message. Hey, what do you have? What do you have for sizes and stuff? And he'll hold it for you. That's what's pretty good about that. But ready? Ready to talk this one?
Let's actually do this. Yeah.
All right, we filibustered enough. All right, so an unchanged 11 from last time out. Jackson Leonette, Sanchez, Nodarse, Yao, Rio Hopgund, Maxi Rodriguez, Clay Holstad, Jose Quazera, Noah Fusan, Joe Brito, and Albert Chico Dikwa. I think this is the 11 that we were all kind of hoping to see.
Yeah, I mean, you can't complain. I mean, last week our big takeaway was we played really well against Portland, but we need to see it again in the USL and the league. And you can't argue with Kano. We played really, really well, and he has always been someone who rewards a good performance. And I think last game would be hard to argue that any of these guys should be pulled. So, I think on paper, especially with the injuries, this was the team that you'd hope that'd be out there. I was most excited to see that Noah was back in that central role that we saw him do really well against Portland in. But other than that, I think, this is exactly what we would have hoped for. But what do you think?
Yeah, I see Matt Hands in the chat. Need a replacement for Brito in the setup. I disagree. I think Brito's creativity in Portland added a new element to the fold. We didn't see it last night, but I think his ability to press and kind of take on a guy is something different to throw out there. I do like seeing him out there. You wonder what it'll look like when JJ comes back and we can potentially have two strikers. But Matt saying he did absolutely nothing. I think that's harsh. I think what he offers and the way he played versus Portland warranted a spot in the starting 11 for him.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that I would have started him just based on the last week. With this game also in hindsight, I don't know that he's a long-term solution there. I don't think Kano thinks he's a long-term solution there, but he played a very Joe Brito game, which is somewhat he always attacks with energy. He always attacks with hustle. Strategically, very like tactically where he should be. He's never out of position. He's never doing something that's hurting the team. I just find that we're very left-wing dominant right now. And I think having something else out there, I think that was the whole, hope when Noah was out there, was it kind of was more balanced between him and Quazera on the wings.
Sure.
I do think moving Noah centrally has been better for Noah, but I don't know that it's helped the team in terms of having a more balanced attack. So I think more to come. It's tough. It's only been 2 games. This is extremely out of position for Joe. So, you can't fault him. He's always someone who's up to do a job. I think he's a great team player, but I think it's going to be kind of probably an evolution on who is this right winger over the next few weeks and months.
Right. So Timmy says an actual right wing to play the right wing. I'm in. Like right now, would you throw in another midfielder, maybe an Ibarra, and maybe put Clay or Maxi out a little bit wide, or how would you approach this with the lack of a defined right winger, especially with Noah being in the goals the last 2 games in a more central role?
Yeah, I mean, I think what might end up happening is we try Chico out there when JJ comes back. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't think that's I'm just saying I think that's what we're going to see at some point. I don't know if it's going to work. Matt Hands called it. He was yelling it at me in section 205. Like he thinks Danny Rivera might be the guy out there. A very defensive version of this setup. I mean, I could see it in a way. It's kind of more back to that back 5 setup where we have a wing back. I don't know. Quite frankly, I think if we were to sign something, people really want to see a striker come in. I wouldn't hate an out and out right winger to come in who can just give us some pace, give us some flair, give us some creativity out there. That's a little bit different. Like again, not to knock Joe, but he's an attacking midfielder. He's someone who can play like more of that number 8, which is that kind of like in between defensive and attacking midfielder. This is not his normal position. So someone who's just, that dazzling winger that we can bring out there, kind of like Margarita, who we saw down in Phoenix, I think could be fun, number 1. And number 2 could kind of cause a little bit of destruction, a little chaos, and bring a little bit of different look to this team.
Hey, everyone loves a good margarita, especially on a Tuesday with some tacos.
Yes.
Matt says he wants to see what Rivera can do out there, at least try it, as he said with you. And Jason says, I agree with Hands on that one. I will say, it was
can I just say
very
with that, like, I'm not there. Like, I think it sounds good because we haven't seen him. Like he's
Sure.
fun because we kind of like Hugo in a way. Like Hugo's like really fascinating just because we've never seen him kick a ball. We haven't seen him do things we don't like. So I think
Mhm.
Rivera is right in that mold of like, well, he's never done something that's made me mad. So screw it. Let's put him out there. It would be fun.
Yeah, I think an interesting wrinkle to what we saw yesterday was the role that Rio played. Rio was much more advanced than we've seen him
Yep.
in the past, and you know, and anyone who listens knows how big Rio fans we are. But I think he's more of that right fullback. But he was actually pressing on the opposite end line. And he was in the opposition box often and early in this one, and it was a very interesting role to see him. There was a great moment later on in the match where a Birmingham player megged him, went by him, and he held him off and ushered the ball out of bounds or to Jackson, and waved his finger in the face. Just an absolute great clip. Hopefully, Timmy got it on his rewatch. We'll see. But Rio kind of played more of that Turnbull role, and I'm using that name on purpose here, obviously, where he got a little bit more forward, not the service and passing in, but much more advanced up the pitch on the right side.
Yeah, I mean, I think and I know we got a question in the Discord about this in terms of like we were super left-hand dominant, and we also saw that last game against Portland.
Well, you said that earlier, and I did want to come back to this. So I'm glad you brought it back up. But, I don't think we were as left side dominant throughout this one. I think the left side is where the success came from Portland. But I think we were much more right side heavy, advancing the ball in this one. And that brought Quizera very central in this one. And that's when him and Noah and Chico started not occupying the same spaces and made no real passing lanes or triangles able to open up for this team in this one.
Yeah, I mean, to where I was going with the pass, I think that's a fair thing that I think we should talk about as we go through this one. But I think the idea with Rio being more advanced was we had to bring a little more balance to what we saw against Portland. In Portland, it was like get the ball out to the left, get it to Quizera, him and Noah are combining, and then Aldair was making like a lot of great overlaps, which we praised on the show. We said we loved that it was more adventurous, it was more attacking than what we've seen so far this season. And with that system, the way that Kano kind of plays his back four is it's like the seesaw. So when one of the fullbacks goes, the other one stays put to keep the back three, which quite frankly, it's a good strategy because it keeps a good defensive structure out there. The thing in this game I think we saw was it also flipped the other way, which is good. I mean, I'm intrigued to see more of it where Rio would go and then kind of Aldair would tuck in to make that kind of back three. So I think more to come here. I did find that of anything on the night to be one of the more like, oh, this is interesting. It's something that I understand and think could make sense over time. I just think there's more to come. I mean, this is not Rio's kind of classic position. He's always played as more of a center back. So having him as this, sometimes attacking fullback, I think will be something that could come over time. Because like you said, we both raved about how talented he is. And he also seems to have a good like IQ out there that could understand tactically and strategically when to go, when to stay, and make the most of that.
Oh, for sure. One thing I will say, being in the supported section, kind of seeing him up close and personal for a half is his communication. Like he is very much the vocal leader on the back line, and it is very good to see. Martin brings up a good point. Problem is not just one player. The team does not seem to be on the same wavelength. Players making runs being ignored. We kept passing backwards. So there was a lack of service. There was very much a lack of speed in this one. We talked about last game how one of the goals versus Portland came from a very quick throw in after a Portland defensive error. And, I called out that would normally be a Clay long throw situation. And we saw that happen near the Birmingham bench early in the first half where Rio had the ball in his hands to make a throw, put it down, picked it back up, waited, Clay came, and it slowed play down. And, we'll always talk about the officiating on this one, and 30 fouls and 7 cards. The whistle was very frequent throughout this one, but the pace of play by hook or crook was way too slow compared to how it was versus Portland.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get, again, into our mid-year review, which we're going to talk about a lot of these teams, but I have to say, I think that was the most disappointing thing on the night for me. I think this team, the one thing you can never doubt their intensity and their effort on the night, but I think what's upsetting sometimes is that their intensity doesn't always translate to the offensive intensity. They're like on defense, they will go absolute balls to the wall, and they will defend everything and throw their body around. But they're just more than happy to kind of just not dilly-dally on the ball. I'm not going to say that, but just play the safe thing, which, is that maybe that is helping our defensive metrics this season. We are one of the best defensive teams in the league, but we are taking absolutely zero risk going forward. And I think that, quite frankly, is the issue going forward. Because we're generating absolutely nothing offensively. And I think a lot of it has to do with how quickly we're moving the ball, but also just like what we're trying to do with it. Like, are we making the probing pass? Are we making are we making the other team uncomfortable? And it's just, we're never doing that. And a lot of time it's because we're trying to keep ourselves comfortable. We're happy, instead of, looking forward, trying to make that pass. Like I know a lot of people are saying, we are then turning back, resetting, and doing the horseshoe of death as an Arsenal fan. It's been a horrible thing we've gone through in the past.
Horrible club backing horrible players, but I'll digress there. Justin says, don't understand the passing backwards. Coach is always yelling, thinking big on the attacks. And then we saw from Matt Hands in the chat also, I definitely heard Connor yelling faster over and over again late in the game. Yep. Just a very different pace of play throughout this one. Our friend FUB said Rio looked awful in this one. I don't think he looked awful. Defensively, he was still very much his normal stalwart. But like we talked about, I think it was a much more advanced role for him and very different. And he's not that, lob across in or, kind of break lines with his dribble type player. So I think, like you said, the best way to describe that is more to come on that one.
Yeah. And I just want to quickly touch on the passing backwards thing. I think, I hear it when I'm at the games, and I know people really hate it. It's not always a bad thing, right? Like sometimes you're trying to reset, you're trying to gain an advantage because you are like going back to a center back and then back up to the wing. Like you might be getting a numerical advantage over there, which is what you're kind of always hunting for in these games. But I think that's one of the things, like when Mabika first came into the team, I think that was what we were so excited about, is they might go back to him, but he was then taking out multiple lines of people with a pass from there. Mm-hmm. So it was like a tactical, advantage that we were gaining over these teams because he was able to break lines, go through there. So I'm not saying never pass backwards. I think it is a sound strategy. The problem is we're just only kind of playing that, like, we're just keeping it there. Metronome, just bringing it back. Okay, Frank has it over here. He's going to go back to Yao. Okay, Yao goes over to Aldair. Okay, Aldair goes back. It's just we're keeping it there instead of advancing it and then kind of making that quick 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 through. So it's not always a bad thing. There's a reason why a lot of the top teams in the world do that. I just don't think we're executing at it past that back line there.
I think that's really well said. Andrew has a good question that would probably go better a little bit later in the show, but I'll lose it in the chat if I don't pull it up now. What do we make of Jackson slowing things down on the restarts and extra time? Felt the team wasn't trying to push for a win. I kind of got that vibe as well. It was very much Jackson took his time. There wasn't any rush to kind of attack and go forward. Birmingham had two great chances, which we'll take a look at on video a little bit later in this one, in the later stages of the match. But we seem to be, after the 80th minute or so, in no hurry or rush to try to go out there and get all 3 points. And we seemed very content with a 1-1 draw on this one.
If Andrew was sitting in 205, he would know that Kano, I was shocked his head was still on his neck at that point. He was.
Did you think it was going to raise up to the roof?
He was infuriated with the way that we were approaching that final 10 minutes. Like I'm all in favor of a keeper or even like a defender or a midfielder taking the steam out of a game when we are giving up chances like that. But at the end of the day, like Kano was screaming at them to go forward, to push, go faster, push. And like, yeah, I honestly am shocked. His blood pressure must have been through the absolute roof on this one. Like it was insane.
I will say, because I was down pitch level taking some pictures during this time stretch, and Andrew says Jackson put the ball down for a goal kick, stopped, went back to his water bottle to get a drink, and then slow played the goal kick, which I do very much agree on. But the outfield players were not advancing either. So I think it was kind of twofold. It was very much guys were in their spots, guys were standing still, and I think this was not so much a Jackson issue as it was a whole 11 issue.
Yeah, no. And I want to be clear, I wasn't blaming Jackson there. totally agree. I mean, he was screaming at basically every player on the pitch. It wasn't just after the goal kick. It was while the ball was in play. I mean, there was a couple back passes that he literally just like, he's very animated. He turned around, he went back to the bench, he was screaming at his coaches. I mean, yeah, he was. If you think we're upset about this performance, I can tell you what Kano said to them is worse than anything you're going to hear tonight.
Totally. And Andrew kind of wraps it up and sums it up very nicely. It just feels counter to everything we've seen from this team over the past 1.5 years. Never Say Die was gone last night. It was very much, we're okay with this point. Let's watch the fireworks together, if you will.
I don't know that I'm ready to go that far, but I'm not that close. I'm close. I just, yeah, I'm going to keep struggling on, because my big thing is like when we talk about these performances is, tactically, strategically, were we off? Did we play not well? And then did we not try? I'm not there on the effort yet. I
wouldn't say so much as the effort piece versus like, the last 10, like, let's just seed this out and get off the pitch with a point.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, you may be right. I struggle. I think the problem is I think some players were really going for it and they were pushing and trying. I don't know that everyone was, which is, I think, fair. Yeah. I mean, clearly, I mean, like we saw the result. I mean, the only final really good thing that we had going for us was that final free kick where the crowd got kind of stomping their feet. And I just was like, oh, this is nothing's going to happen here. And then nothing happened. And yeah, I mean, it was really, really frustrating there.
For sure. Two more takes, then we'll take a look at the first goal in this one. Santiago Restrepo on Facebook says 100% attacking looks slow and really boring. Can't create a lot of danger at top. Same with free kicks and corners. No dangerous balls going through to the center of the box. Totally agree with you there, Santiago. I just don't think we use our height well enough. And then Martin with another great take. We looked like the team that played midweek, not Birmingham. I think that was pretty true, especially in the later stages of this one.
So I have a take that everyone's going to boo me on in the chat, but I actually thought what we were doing on corners last night was like weirdly interesting. We were doing these like bouncing balls through the box. I was like, you know what? If we can't hit guys in the air, like let's cause some chaos in the box. Again, it didn't work. So back to the drawing board, but I was like, yeah, at least we're trying something.
Well, Matt Hands agree with you. So that's pretty good.
I think he did a couple of minutes ago on something different, but intrigued to see if he agrees again.
All right, so 27th minute, Birmingham gets on this scoreboard, and it's from Ronaldo Damas with a very interesting goal and a lot to discuss after watching this one.
Of where they want to go and how they want to get there. You mentioned it, that identity.
Well, Birmingham are going places here. Damas is in the middle, and Damas will head it in to give Birmingham the lead. It's simply what he does in front of goal. It's Ronaldo Damas' 7th league goal of the season, and the Legion lead in Pawtucket. How about that?
And the second point I was about to make was clarity. And when you have clarity of roles, you're able to recognize when there's plays out there to be made. And this is one of those plays, and that's something, and this is a combination that the Birmingham Legion are continuing to work towards. What a breakthrough. They're in behind. And then.
So there's a lot to talk about on this one. It's a beautifully pinged ball from a from a not so well groomed keeper with a terrible haircut, backup keeper as well, to mine as well. But Aldair should be marking Turnbull on that and gets absolutely lost. And then I like Tyler's take in the chat. Interesting strategy from Frank on that one. It was almost like tag and then go ahead. And I think a part that kind of gets underlooked in this one is Yao's definitely the man to mark Damas on that one, and he gives him way too much space. I think that was Damas' 7th goal of the season, and gets unglued from him. And Turnbull puts a beautiful ball in. Like, be nice to have a right back like that, right? But there's a lot to talk about in this one. Kind of a calamity of errors, and those are the errors that mount up. And when we make multiple errors like that, very often we can see goals.
Yep. Yeah. So This was a funny goal because as it happened, my wife, I was just staring off into like the distance for like a good 2 minutes. My wife was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm just like, I cannot believe Frank just did that again. I mean, he's culprit number one. I don't. It's real frustrating. He has all the tools to be a fantastic center back, and at times he is, and then at times he does stuff like that where you're just like, I genuinely can't explain what he was thinking or what he was doing. It's just like that. It truly is besides like slide tackling through the guy in the box. Like, I don't know what the worst outcome could be than just letting him run through on goal to get a cross in.
Take the fall.
I mean, like there's 12 things he could have done and he did none of them. Just run with the guy. How about that? And then the way he approached that, I think Yao sensed the danger, which he was correct at sensing. So he didn't stick with Damas. You could see him running. He starts to bend his run towards Frank because he has babysat Frank for the better part of 2 years. I don't blame him. I played defense with people who I don't trust. And you do stupid shit because you don't trust that person. And half the time you're right. The other half of the time you look like an idiot because you were trying to cover for your person over here. And then, and then Damas, who I really never wanted to see score against us ever again after the final last year. But yeah, he gets a header in. It was a very easy goal. I think any of us could have nodded that in. And yeah, I think the other thing too, like to your point about going all the way back, is like, this team, like, it's just weird that sometimes like they just like lose focus as like a group. So like Aldair, like not just sticking with Turnbull. It's like, you are a defender. That's your guy. Like, stick to your guy. Like, I don't know what he was looking for. What else was going on? Did Frank give him say something? Like, I just don't know what happened, but it's just these weird things as this team does sometimes that I'm like, were you switched off? Like why was everybody not just like ready to play the game that they are playing right now? It's just one of the, I genuinely, like I said, I stared off in the distance for minutes because it's just the same thing we've seen over and over again, where it's a very back and forth game. And then it's a half chance that the other team has no need. I'm intrigued to see what Kevin means best, but like, I don't get how we keep giving up these half chance goals. No other team in the league, I don't think, is doing this at the same time.
It's just the same mistakes over and over again. You'd think as your professional player arc, or even your developmental player arc, you want to correct those mistakes. And we see the same things over and over again. And I'm going to piss my hands off and say, a lot of times it's Frank. Yeah. It is what it is. I think, we have so many defenders in this squad and we still can't find the perfect recipe on how to play it out and how to make it work, which is, really frustrating as well. Martin has a funny one in here too. It was like Frank said, "Oh, that's Turnbull. He's on my side," and then realizes, "Oh wait, no, he plays for Birmingham."
I'll be honest. If that was the actual reason, that's the most like explainable, because nothing else makes sense of like the route he took, the angle, the like effort.
None of it made sense.
None of it made sense. It was like, oh, my buddy here is running on goal. Like, oh, we're at practice again last year at Burn, and like, nope,
I can't blow him up. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even need to, like, that's the thing that kills me, is like, you don't need to blow him up there. Just run with him. Like, just run. Right. Like, Frank is I think that's what bothers me about Frank. He's plenty fast enough. He's technical. He like has the tools to do it, but he like a lot of times takes the lazy way out, which is, I want to bump him, and that should do the job. And no, it doesn't do the job, because Turnbull's an athlete and is going to then continue and keep his balance and go by you. So like, that's what I think kills me with him, is like, there's so many times that he takes the easy way. He takes the easy way out, and then it doesn't work all the time on defense. And I always say, he doesn't have that like sense of danger that like the best defenders in the world have, of like that trigger goes off in his head and it's like lockdown mode. Doesn't exist on Frank. Like, for better or worse, he probably lives an extremely peaceful existence. But other than that, like, I don't know, man.
I'm with you. Luckily, we were able to equalize right before the half. I was actually on my way up to go get the aforementioned sip of sunshine. I heard a roar. I turned around. I came back to the seat and saw the goal in real time, which was...
I was actually in my seat for this one. So, wow, little reverse here.
Well, I was there. I got to see it. I was like halfway up the row and then turned around and came back. But got pretty lucky to get to watch this. So let's take a look as Noah Fusan scores to level this one at
positions this season. And that was the Monterey Bay draw we had referenced earlier. If they're going to change the narrative, things like this could help. Oh, and that's a marvelous finish. That'll do the trick. That's a fantastic goal from Noah Fuson. Rhode Island are right back in it on the stroke of halftime, 1-1.
And this is all initiated by a tremendous ball play forward, and this run into the channel, the awareness to just knock this ball down and settle it for Noah Fuson, who knows exactly where and how he wants to get there. Then puts it on that coveted left foot and just buries this from outside the 18-yard box. Talk about testing a young goalkeeper. You put that traffic.
So love seeing Noah back in the goals first and foremost on this one. A beautiful ball from Maxi over the top. We always talk about JJ's hold-up play, but a really good bit of hold-up play from Chico there. I know we're going to talk about his passing and passing erraticacies a little bit later in this one, but a beautiful pass as well to pick Noah out, and then Noah with an absolute great touch sets up his left foot and an absolutely clinical finish on this one.
Yeah, I love that the announcer said his something about his left foot. It's like as if he's left-footed. No, that was on his weak foot, my friend. But yeah, great play. I mean, again, a lot of credit to a lot of people here who we might not give a lot of credit to throughout this episode. But great ball by Maxi into Chico, which yeah, great hold-up play by him. I think it's something we've criticized him on here plenty of times, and I see him chest that one down. I have to say, I think Tidewater has some really interesting bounces you'll see every once in a while, and I think the team is starting to understand that a little bit and use it to their advantage. But yeah, great by Noah to bring that one down, and immediately once he brought that down, he knew exactly what he was going to do, as the announcer said, and beautiful finish from him. He actually had a couple minutes before had another shot with his left that went just wide, and you could tell he kind of was feeling it a little bit on the night. So nice to see him again in that central role where we've seen him do damage in the past, saw him do damage against Portland. And yeah, I have to say, I was feeling pretty damn good at this point, because it seemed like we were starting to pick up some momentum. We were the better team, maybe going into half, and yeah, started to feel really good here.
Yeah, well said. I know Matt from RA tweeted out after Noah getting in the score sheet versus Portland that you know, this could really kind of carry him and go on a hot run, and I believe that as well. I think that Noah getting and staying in the goals, I think is going to continue for this RIFC team moving forward.
Yeah, I mean,
I know you love to hear that.
I love to hear it, but I also agree. I mean, I think we saw last year he's a player who, you know, he works his ass off. We've heard that from Kana. We've heard that from many places, and I also think he's a confidence player. And we saw the run he went on last season. Like he was, you know, USL League One level from probably August on last year. He ended up being the golden playmaker because of it. But yeah, at this point, I mean, Kano said we haven't seen our difference makers step up, and you know, if we can get at least one of them back to stepping up, which Noah the past 2 games has been doing, you know, long may it continue, because this team needs some kind of spark.
And I think if Chico's not going to be in the goals, why not be in the assists? So
I mean, it's something that we listen. If we're gonna praise JJ for this time and time again, like we have to also praise Chico at the same time, because you know, we talked so much last year about, you know, hey, JJ always, like, just because he isn't scoring, like he's doing so much off the ball, he's doing so many things that help the team. You know, and that was a great example of something that we would have praised the shit out of JJ for doing. So yeah, great work by Chico there.
They call me Gator was in the pretzel line for that beautiful shot. Should have timed your run a little bit better and stayed on side like I did for my sip of sunshine.
Listen, totally Gator, sounds like you might need to just be in the pretzel line all next game. I don't know. Just keep doing laps. Keep consuming pretzels. Try every single dip they have. It's going to cost you $100, but we'll figure it out.
I heard the dips aren't worth it, but that's another show a little later on. First half stats for this one: RAFC 54% possession, outshot Birmingham 4-2, 1 shot on target apiece, 1 big chance for Birmingham, 167 passes completed at 80% for RAFC to 146 at 78 for Birmingham. 7 fouls for RAFC to 8 for Birmingham, 5 corners to none. I was hoping we were going to get our Chick-fil-A. Birmingham had it on the back of the kit, so I figured, you know, this could be a good omen, but was not to be. So First half 1-1, final score 1-1. The second half, a tough watch from, I think, both set of fans. If you were neutral watching this one, you'd probably be really annoyed by it as well. I think the best options came a little bit later on in this one, in the second half, as far as scoring chances, and a lot of those actually came from Birmingham as well in this one. Subs who came on in this one were Mark Ibarra in the 65th minute, Jaime Mabika in the 71st, and Danny Rivera in the 79th. Any big picture talking points second half, Ryan?
My favorite moment of the second half was when Jackson Lee kissed the post when their shot went off there and kind of saved the day there.
So let's talk about that. He got bailed out by the post, and that'll kind of segue us into our next two clips pretty nicely. He got bailed out by the post on two separate occasions, one of which Jaime Mabika came in, absolutely played a great clearance on. But there's a comment too on one of our social posts that we'll get to a little bit later about Jackson. But Jackson did have some big saves, but he was also a very kind recipient to the Tidewater posts.
Yeah. It was a tough half. I mean, I know we're going to get to the stats to end this one, and spoiler alert, they had two big chances that they missed both of them to R0. I think it was a tough half in general, because going into halftime, I was like, okay, we gave up that shitty goal, but I thought we responded well, and I think we had the momentum going into half. I think what was really disappointing is we didn't seem to, be able to take that momentum and then bring it forward. I mean, it was a pretty flat showing from the team. A couple subs came on. I don't think any of them really impressed. Ibarra, excited to see him back. I don't think it was his best game. I thought he had a couple really tough giveaways. Saw him walking his dog today. Did not tell him that, so hope he's not listening. Overall, I thought we were the worst team in the second half, and for a team that was at home who
did not play midweek.
Did not play midweek and was playing a team that we had really good success with. I was really, really, really disappointed with the performance.
Ryan, we've got an interesting development in our chat right now being called Corner Gate. Gator is on one tonight. Kano is getting Chick-fil-A kickbacks to bungle for every free sandwich opportunity. Do you believe Corner Gate to be a real thing?
I mean, with the tactics that we keep employing, it might be. And honestly, it's the best explanation so far. Again, I kind of liked what they were doing. I know Sarah was behind me being like, couldn't have disagreed more, but I was like, at least they're trying something different by doing these weird bouncing balls through the box.
Was that intentional, or was that
if that wasn't intentional, I will weep on air right now, because those were terrible corners, but also it was kind of like maybe midweek they were fucking around out there, and it was like, hey, it's kind of a weird pitch. Like, let's just use it to our advantage. So, because nothing else is working, I'll take it. But Kano being on the Chick-fil-A take is a fascinating one. We'll have to keep an eye out. I mean, quite frankly, we were one of the best teams in the league last year on corners from scoring goals. So if we go through this whole season with 0 corners from home, I think we should launch a full-blown investigation. And boy, do I know the guy to do it, Mr. Matt Hands.
Jason's got an awesome tagline in this one: the Chick-fil-A corner conspiracy. I'm all about alliteration. I love it. That would have been a great RIFC in 3, Jason. You totally should have hammered that as well. And then to your point, Ryan, Justin said, by this time last year, how many chicken sandwiches would we the people have gotten?
Yeah, I mean, this is big, guys. I'm kind of bought in. I'm a little nervous about it. I would say, Kano, if you're listening, and the whole team, if you're listening, please prove us wrong by scoring a corner and giving us a Chick-fil-A sandwich next game, please.
No, don't do it next game. Do not do it in Indianapolis.
Oh, please, no, it has to be at home.
Yeah. Please do it at home. Please do it at home.
No, sorry. To be clear, if you do it next game, but then not at home, I'm even more bought in that this is an issue, because you are clearly, you're purposely starving the fans of Chick-fil-A.
Timmy, clip this whole friggin' segment. We've got some pretty good investigation there as well.
I will say I'm a little nervous on how deep Matt Hands is going to go here.
Yeah, Tidetalk about to get taken off the air for exposing the truth.
I'm sorry for Sarah and the kiddos, because we might lose them for the whole week.
We want our chicken sandwiches, Kano. Please, we are starving. It would be quite a good pick me up.
If I could give one suggestion, it's aim to a batch of tall guys, just a bunch of tall guys. Just aim at them, and then they'll hit it in the net. That's my big idea.
Especially when the one that's 6'7" is on the field. Like,
he's so tall.
I'd start with he's so tall.
We talked to him last night. He's so tall.
He was awesome when he was signing autographs and talking to people post game because he kept apologizing, saying, "I'm sorry, I'm so sweaty." He was drenched and he played 25 minutes or whatever it was.
I'm not one to judge. I was right there with him and I played 0, so I get it.
That's true. That is pretty fair. But I mentioned the 2 chances for Birmingham that fell late, so let's take a look at the first one.
Birmingham Legion side that have been menaces to opponents throughout their career.
And here is Pasher being a menace, but the shot is saved by Lee off the post.
So an untracked run, Jackson's able to get a finger on it, hits off the post. Mabika, who I believe was the guilty party in the untracked run, is able to come in and kind of pick it up there. It was able to clear the line, which was a great clearance by him. And that's the first one that we'll take a look at. And just for connectivity in our episode, we'll take a look at the second one back to back to let Ryan compose himself.
Turnbull. Lovely ball for Pasher on the turn. Pasher's shot is off the post for a second time. Birmingham follows up and the header is just wide. First Pasher and
so I've got the chat off window for a minute just so I can focus myself here. But another one where Jackson's able to get a minuscule touch on it, deflected off the post. A beautiful ball in from that guy, Stephen Turnbull again. I think Birmingham actually should have done better off the header than the first attempt there. It was pretty much a free header, but not able to convert. But not tracking runs are allowing all of these free shots on goal for this RIFC backline. I
didn't recall how Mabika kind of was just doing his thing out there and not tracking anybody when he was playing. Not great. I mean, I think the thing that scares me a lot sometimes we'll play for the offsides trap, which I don't know how you can do that.
I hate it.
It stresses me out so much because you just cannot rely on these officials to actually call that. Mabika seems extremely calm. I mean, just again, we got a bunch of chill guys on the back line, just like fine with things happening. But Mabika, I think he has given a lot to this team, and he's someone who I have repeatedly talked about how much I like some of the things we've seen from him. But he's also had some of these kind of very lackadaisical moments, similar to the ones I criticized Frank for earlier. So I want to be very fair in the same way where I just don't know what. Sometimes it's like just mark your man. He's right there, and you're also 6'7". You should be able to get the header over him versus like giving him all the space in the world, especially if it's Enzo Martinez, who is not a particularly quick guy. So I don't think Mabika really covered himself in glory on either of those two.
Are you familiar with the cat versus dog center back comparison that was kind of made, big in the Premier League? I would say within the last 10 years or so.
Interesting. It's a fun concept. I don't know if I've heard it.
So dogs are very much the slide into, challenge, and the cats are more of the play it at your feet, play the long ball. I think we've got a lot of cats on this team, not a lot of dogs in the back line. I think early on last season, we saw the dog was Yao. Yao was the one coming in for those crunching challenges. And, he's working his way back. So I don't think we've kind of seen, what he really was last season. He's not back to his full self yet, but I think he's the closest thing we have to a dog defender, maybe along with Rio. I would kind of put Rio more towards that category. But I think when you have that comparison imbalanced is when you kind of struggle, where there's a lot of ball watching. There's not a lot of runs being tracked. And I think that's what we see oftentimes with this RIFC team.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is, I don't also know that we have, when I think of a cat, I think of, I know everyone's going to boo, but, William Saliba. He stands off, or Virgil van Dijk. They kind of have that, they're not going to tackles. They're kind of more going for the interception, and then they're going to jockey, and then just kind of take care of you there. When I don't know that we have that either, because I don't think like Yao, I don't think he's particularly good at that. We saw him get absolutely rinsed by the guy from Portland twice now. Frank does not do a good job at that. Like we don't have that guy either. So it's like we don't have the person bringing calm to the back line, but we also don't have that like guy who's really bringing the heat there either. So I think you brought it up earlier in the episode. It's just like we have not found the balance there. Can't wait to see what Hugo also brings to this. Like it's just funny that we have all these different kind of ingredients to make this recipe. And, hopefully by the end of the season we get there, but we were 15 games into the 30-game season. And I don't think any of us could really give you a clear shot at what is that best back four or best back five, depending on what we're playing.
Right. Just on a quick Google poll, a dog is more of that brutish defender. They love defending. They're aggressive and physical. They like headers and big challenges. A cat is more of an elegant technical player, less aggressive and enjoys possession. I didn't bring up the, comparison that I was most familiar with to make you upset. Oh, no, you know what? You had an Arsenal shirt on last week. I'll totally do it. It was totally prime Toby Alderweireld and Jan Vertonghen as a pairing. Jan was very much that play it forward, dribble out of the back, left center back, and Toby was in there on the challenges and the aerial player. Although he could also possess a very good long ball, but I've seen Pau Torres and Tyrone Mings. Pau Torres would be the cat. Tyrone Mings would be the dog as well in there. So just that complementary pairing, and I think we just have, to my point about I think there's just too many like pieces and same minded players in this one, and the pretty chill backline guys that you mentioned are what we see often and most in this setup.
I just want to be clear. I don't even want to call them cats, because I think some of the cats that we've been describing so far, the Van Dijks, I can't remember which of the Tottenham guys was the cat, but they're not
super young.
Yeah, they're not just chilling. They're doing a good job organizing, defending. It's strategically that way, where I think sometimes we're just chill, like a little too chill. So the analogy makes total sense. I almost think there's, I don't know, the other, like we're almost like it's like dogs, cats, and possums, and we're kind of playing possum a little too much.
Well, it brings me back to my college days and my anatomy class that I took one summer at CCRI in Lincoln, because you have
so nervous where this is going.
So many sciences to become a phys ed teacher. It's ridiculous. But we, as a part of anatomy, you dissect a cat, and my cat had 8 fetuses inside of it. It was a very fat, pregnant cat. So maybe that's the kind of cat that we have going on here. All right, final stats for this one. We're 52% possession for RIFC. We were outshot 8-7 on the night, 2 on target. I think Tyler said that the goal was the only shot on target. We did have one more. I believe it came later in the second half on this one. We were 3-2 shots on target in favor of Birmingham. 3 big chances for Legion, 0 for RIFC. We completed 294 passes at 77%. They completed 290 at 79. 14 falls for us, 16 for them. 6 corners to 2, just more opportunities, should have been assumed, at least on the set pieces on this one. So any other big issue talking points you want to get to on this one?
I think the stats say it all, which is not a shocking thing for me to say, but yeah, I mean, it's another game where we got absolutely smoked in terms of big chances. Again, 3-0. We were honestly really lucky that we didn't lose this one. And yeah, quite frankly, this was a extremely disappointing performance.
If you stuck with us through all of our filibustering in the opening and our cat talk throughout this one, make sure you smash that like button if you haven't already. Just a quick run of the socials, and then we'll get to our fancy mid-year review. RIFC in 3 on the Defiant 1636 Discord, along with Good, Bad, Ugly, or Good, Better, Best. It was dealer's choice for this one. Tyler had his RIFC in 3. Start winning games. What a novel thought, Tyler. Good, tonight's crowd. Bad, offense still looks lost. And ugly, fireworks, traffic. Although he put still worth it. We'll talk about the traffic. I swear we'll get through this. Mike M said, this is a tough one. I had such a good time at the game and it was awesome, but the same token, a draw was disappointing and not the result we were looking for. Gonna need some time to think on it. Tyler said the crowd was electric tonight and the game was close, but Birmingham is a bad team and you have to beat bad teams at home. Our good friend Leo had his good. Noah keeping his momentum up with a well-placed goal. Bad, Jackson having to stand on his head and thanks to the post to keep a draw. Ugly defenders' lack of communication and being out of position biting us again. RIFC in 3. Highs have come downs. Matt Hands, good. Noah and Ibarra. I know, Ryan, you want to talk about Ibarra?
I thought he was a little sloppy. Like I don't know if it's a high. Like he wasn't great. I think he was just a little sloppy and not the Ibarra that we expect when
He was I think a par for the course substitute.
I gave a standing ovation for the substitute, which says how I thought of Brito's performance on the night. But yeah, I was excited for him to come on, and then I think his touch was a little rusty. Like he hasn't played in a while, and he just had a couple. Sure. It was a yard further, or even a foot further than he wanted, and he got dispossessed a lot. So I think he just wasn't the kind of silky, composed Ibarra that we've seen. I think we'll see it sooner than later. He's rough.
Matt's bad was Frank letting Turnbull get past him for the goal, so Matt did throw some shade there. Ugly buses in traffic after the game. There was a good back and forth between Leo and Hands about Frank and his ultimate Frank moments and out in this one. Andrew Hill said, good crowd, great work by the goalposts, and ugly reffing. That's kind of a mix of good, better, best, and good, bad, and ugly. Natesky had RIFC in 3, draw kings again. Man, I hate that phrase. I wish we could get away from it. His good was the offense. His better was the atmosphere, and his best was the after party. It was cool seeing people getting back to the tailgate afterwards as well, because you really couldn't go anywhere. Taras had his RIFC in 3 as we didn't lose. His good, Noah scores again. Bad, the goalpost was our best defender. Ugly, so many promising trips into the final third ended by a bad pass or a ball taken away. That sums up the night, Taras. I love that take. I don't love that it happened, but I think you summed it up very nicely. Mike M's RIFC in 3 was stuck in neutral, and I actually tweeted that as mine as well, and I didn't even read that because I hadn't had my coffee yet and dive through all of this. So great minds think alike, Mike. I like that. Good was a great night at the stadium. Bad, we probably didn't even deserve a tie this match. Ugly, playoff outlook starting to look a little bit shaky. Jake F's RIFC in 3 is we are looking better. Ryan, are we looking better?
Nope.
No, Jake, love you, man. Don't love that take. I think it was a step back from the momentum and gains that we showed versus Portland. The trolls will tell you that it was only because we played a League One team in that one, and that's our level. But I think we needed to build off that performance, and I don't think this Birmingham match was a step in building in this one. The good was the energy on and off the pitch is improving and looking great. Ugly, we got way too lucky with the shots that hit the post. So a bunch of good stuff in there. And then Andrew Gomes had RIFC in 3, light fireworks offense. And we kind of touched upon this earlier, but Mo Brown has said, curious why right side attack and left side defense were not performing as well as expected. We've tried several right side attacks, then seeing Turnbull motor through. Want to see that attacking energy from RIFC in 3. It's just so disjointed right now. But that was kind of look at the Defiance 1636 takes and responses to our post-match socials. So did you want to hop in there, Aaron?
Yeah, the two, just to quickly, the chat is giving me hell. Ibarra, I totally agree with you guys. Like he needs time. He was thrown into an absolute pressure cooker of a situation. So I totally hear everybody on him needing the whole performance was about him needing more time. So couldn't agree more. Can't remember the other thing I was going to say, but overall, I think we're all on the same page where like this just was not a performance that any of us are proud of.
Heading to Twitter, my RFC in 3 was stuck in neutral. My good was the atmosphere. My bad was the result. And my ugly was Timmy Sclafani's pink hat not being there, being up floating in a tube in Maine. Shirtless FQB at the match, who was very boom sauced and was very entertaining to speak to, who started out his match in the supporter sections. Good was the pretzel. Better was the weather. Best was the fireworks. His bad was RAFC in general. Worst, the bus situation post game. And RAFC in 3 again just beat Hartford. We'll switch it over to Facebook, where we had a couple different posts. We had Jeremy Medeiros. Well, where to begin? Goalkeeper falls to pieces as soon as the ball comes in the box. He's on his knees or just laying on the ground. Problem 1, goalkeeping. As for everything else, no direction.
Goalkeeping?
No direction, no plan of attack except on set pieces. Too much walking around on the pitch. No one is making runs. 382 passes, FML. That's ridiculous with 70% accuracy. Unacceptable. That was not true based on the post-match stats that I just shared with you. So, Jeremy, double check your FOTMob stats throughout this one. And our good friend Don Lindbergh, Jeremy Medeiros, you nailed it. Ryan, hop in on this one because I don't think the goalkeeping is anywhere close to the number one issue.
I mean, we're gonna, I don't know if we're segueing to mid-year review, but I think we're going to cover this extensively.
Or save it if you want.
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna save it.
I just think that's.
I guess in short, if you want to just stop listening right now, that is not correct.
Yeah, I disagree with Jeremy on that one. And then to wrap it up, Don's good was seeing Stephen Turnbull again. Better fireworks, best attendance. Good, at least RIFC scored. Bad, poor result. Ugly, Kano's constant screaming. And I believe poor overall roster. We have many talented players, but this is not a well-constructed team. I mean, I think that's it. I think we are pretty unbalanced, but I think a lot of that is, due to injury as well. But that is something to be looked at a little bit later on. A lot of interesting takes there. A lot of, press the button kind of issues being shared by people on this one. Some I agree with, some I don't even want to touch, to be honest with you.
Quite frankly, I think it's kind of a good summation of the state of this team where no one is happy with what we're seeing, but I don't think anyone has a clear idea on how to fix it. We're all kind of seeing different things. Like as Santiago just put in the chat, like there's injuries, like there's plenty of stuff going on that could give you some, different ways to see this game. But at the end of the day, like the team is not performing. And I think that's what we can all agree on. Unfortunately for both us and the team, like no one really has a clear idea on what and why is happening.
All right. Before we shift gears and do our mid-year review, I definitely got to give a big shout out to Stephen Turnbull at the end of the year block party last year. And, you reached out and he sent us a very nice video after our incident. And he gave Zach a signed jersey at the block party, but gave Zach his shirt at the end of the match again after just a great match that he played. Just a great dude. Been talking to him on and off for the last 2 weeks. Really great dude. And I think we're missing his play in this team. Particularly with what we're kind of lacking at as far as the right back, but just an absolute great person to talk to interact with, and cool that he kind of kept Zach in mind and was able to do that at the end of the match. So really appreciate him kind of taking the time to do so. But we are up over an hour, which is awesome for us, or incredible. But it's time for the mid-year review. It's time to show you why we wore the ties tonight in this one, and let's begin it. And I want to start by prefacing in the chat, we're going to be looking for a lot of chat input. So make sure you got your keyboard pulled up and you're ready to go and interact with this segment.
Yeah. And if you are listening on the podcast, this is one of those moments where we say, switch over to the YouTube. It will be worth it. Mostly for this picture, which I unfortunately cooked up this morning because boy, oh boy, this is going to haunt some nightmares for everybody. But folks, it's the mid-year review and we have to just say, so what would you say you do here? So how we're going to do this tonight, like Matt said, you need some really a lot of input in the chats here. So we're going to break this down into a few categories. So I am very sorry if a few of you may be having your mid-year performance review sometime now to feel a little PTSD tonight. But we're going to talk about goalkeeping. We're going to talk about defense. We're going to talk about attack. We're going to talk about coaching, and we are just going to talk overall RIFC here. So how is this going to work? We're going to break this down into some areas here. So let's say
chat, pay attention to this.
Yes.
Kind of take note of these 5 grading standards, if you will.
Yeah, so it's outstanding. So that means you think someone is just top of the top. It exceeds expectations. Then you have meets, so that's kind of that mid-tier, meets expectations. Needs improvement, so that something's not going great, and then significantly needs improvement. And again, I'm so sorry if people in the chat, like a certain Tyler, might have seen some of these on his performance review in the past, but we will work through that as a group here. So we're going to start with goalkeeping here. So we have 2 goalkeepers, and this is going to be the only category here that we actually call people out by name. This is by the category, but unfortunately, goalkeeping there's one guy back there most of the time. So we have Koke Vegas here. His goals minus XG. So this is saying how many goals per game is he giving up compared to the goals that he'd be expected to. So he's at minus 0.07. He's one of the top, I think, 5 or 6 people in the league. His save percentage is 67.7%. His passing score, which is basically the amount of passes per game you complete, more than what the data people would expect you to, is 1.63. This actually leads the goalkeepers in the league, and he has 4 clean sheets this season. Jackson Lee, his goals minus XG is right over at 0.04. Quite frankly, I think he's been a little hard done by some of these set pieces that we scored some goals on, or they scored some goals on. His save percentage is 64.3, and his passing score is 1.62. Again, I think we go a little bit longer here with Jackson than we do with Koke, so he might be not benefiting there. But so Matt, so far, what do we think about goalkeeping?
Right, so I'm going to pull the grading scale back up as well. People in the chat were kind of, just saying, so let us know goalkeeping, colon, and then put what you got for your grading on that. I'm going to go with exceeds expectations. I'm not going to go with outstanding for 2 different reasons. One, availability. And, I know injuries are, they happen. They're a part of the sport. But I think we can't be outstanding if our number one's not available for the whole time. And I can't give Jackson outstanding just because of the set piece drama and set piece issues we've seen, and might not be fully his fault, might be part defensive fault as well. But you showed I'm going to pull it back up, so I'm going to switch off the grading scale while Ryan takes some notes. The passing score with a 1.63 leads the league for Koke. Jackson's right behind him by 0.01. So no, am I wrong on that?
He's a negative passing score, unfortunately.
Oh, it's negative. I'm sorry, I did not see the minus. So I'm sorry. We'll pull away from that one. But save percentage within 3 points, and the XG per game is pretty damn close as well. I mean, think
listen, at 0.04, like that is, you're going to double decimal places. Like he's stopping when he's supposed to be stopping there.
Right. So I think for me, and put the grading scale back on the screen, it exceeds expectations. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm right there. I talked about it before Koke got injured. I think he's having an exceptional season that is going a bit under the radar. It's now even more under the radar now that he's been out for about a month now. But no, I mean, Jackson, I think the thing that I think a lot of people forgot is that Jackson broke his ankle the morning or the day before the championship, and went through a big rehab and was just kind of getting back to even just playing as the season started. We didn't even see him on the bench for the first few weeks. So the fact that he's come in and I think has been a very, very serviceable backup. Number one is something that any team in this league would be thrilled to have. But also I think something that should inspire confidence. I know some people feel a little shaky about it, but at the end of the day, this is your number 2. Koke is the number 1 on this team. He's the captain of this team, and is having a phenomenal season so far. So I'm if let's say Koke had continued his form that we had seen previously, I might have gone to outstanding, but I think exceeds expectation is extremely fair.
And I would say, based on the results that I just flashed across the screen on there, the chat tends to agree with the both of us on that one as well. So we got exceeds from Ryan, Matt, and the chat.
I'm really intrigued. I'm assuming this is all just going to go swimmingly and no one's going to disagree moving forward, because the rest of the categories are definitely way less controversial. But we'll move to defense here.
And as Ryan's going through these on the defense, feel free to get your ratings in the chat as well. Ryan, after you do this, give your verdict, and then I'll give mine, so you can kind of cipher in those chat votes too.
Rock and roll. All right, so for goals against per 90, so that's goals against per game, we are just over 1 at 1.13. That's 8th best in this league. For expected goals against, so this is where the data says where the shot was taken, where the shot, all these different metrics, what was the expected outcome. We're actually 3rd best in the league here. We're at 9 shots against per 90, again, 3rd best in the league. And we are winning possession in the final third per 3.9 times per match, which is 4th best in the league here. I'm exceed standard. I'm close. I'm very close to outstanding on this one. It's just those individual errors in the set pieces that are really holding me back from the outstanding. This is something we talked about a lot last year as a real Achilles heel of this team. They really, really struggled for a lot of the year on defense. But I look at these metrics, and at the end of the day, we're really conceding about 1 goal per game. That should be plenty to win. And even though we've had a rotating cast of characters back there, I think they've actually been pretty okay besides the occasional big error that we've seen.
For me, it needs improvement. I think we are below average on this one. And I know sometimes the stats and the eye test don't back you up. We've had some really good defensive moments in this one. And, the stats, I think, might not fully be because of the defense we just talked about. And we all kind of agreed about how the goalkeeping is exceeding expectations and kind of keeping some goals out of the net that maybe could have found the back of the net. So I think the goalkeeping has been a big part of the defense not conceding as much as well. And the midfield defensive side of the midfield has been pretty solid as well, with not leading to errors that create goals. There's only been like 1 or 2 that I can think of off the top of my head that I can say that was solely on a midfielder. But the lack of composure and individual mistakes and errors on this back line, it just needs improvement, because we are seeing these same mistakes over and over again by these same players over and over again. And for me, what's the definition of insanity? Repeating the same thing and expecting different results. And that's what we're doing with this RIFC back line and some of these RIFC same players. And I think this back line needs improvement, both on an individual front by some of these defenders and as a cohesive group. And we've seen a lot of different players in and out, like you mentioned, a different cast of characters every game. But for me, it needs improvement, because the same things over and over again, just as a coach of a different sport, drive me absolutely insane.
No, I think that's more than fair. Let's see. I think we're trending towards meets expectations in the chat. A couple exceeds in there. It seems like meets is right around where the chat is at.
We've got a lot of exceeds and we've got some meets as well. So somewhere in the middle there. So you're the numbers guy.
I mean, let's call it. I did M/E, so that's fine. All right, cool. So now we're going to start getting to the probably fun parts of this. So the attack. So goals for per 90. So goals for per game. 0.8. We are 3rd worst in the league there. Expected goals for, it's 1.08. We are 5th worst in the league. 14.42 shots per goal. We are dead last in the league on how many shots it takes us to get a goal. And then we are 1.14 big chances created per 90. We are 5th worst in the league here. So I'm at significant here.
I'm with you. It's got to be significant. And I think a lot of this fan base is very hinged on, when JJ returns, things will get better. But you got to remember that when JJ was out there, we weren't exactly lighting the world on fire with goals as well. We talked about missing an out-and-out right winger in this one, with Noah kind of finally settling in a little more centrally. Significantly needs improvement, I think, is the only answer for this one.
And this goes back to
we don't critique here on Tidetalk, but we are saying that we significantly need improvement in this area.
Yeah, and this, I mean, earlier I think someone said like the goalkeeping needs like the biggest target on it. I know there's a lot of conversation around the defense. There cannot be a conversation at this point about Rhode Island FC that is not focused on what we're seeing on the attacking side. Again, we're scoring less than a goal per game. I saw earlier, I think it was Martin who said over a goal, we're around a goal a game. Like that's poor on the defense. Quite frankly, I'm okay with a goal a game on defense. The fact that we're not scoring multiple goals per game on offense is a huge issue. Last year, I think we were over 2 per game. Again, Miami probably helped with that number, but this is to me, the end all be all of kind of where things are falling apart for us.
Totally. I mean, if you can't score goals, you can't win games. It's as simple as that, and we're kind of seeing it.
I think it's really easy to focus on a defensive error or a goalkeeping error that leads to a goal.
It just gets highlighted and magnified.
Yep. And I think we get stuck there sometimes. And I think we're just kind of losing the plot a little bit when it shouldn't be on the defense and goalkeeper to keep a clean sheet every game for the only way that they can get a win.
All right, Ryan. So the chat pretty much is in agreement with both of us on this one. With it's red, it significantly needs improvement, if not worse, as some people have noted. But Tyler's got a question in here. Isn't how have they been? It's how on earth do they get better? Can this current squad get better, or do we need an acquisition to make this attacking unit a more cohesive, more threatening piece of this RIFC team?
Tyler, I did all these slides tonight so that no one would ask specific questions on how to fix it because I'm at a loss. But I think the something that came up a lot. What was that? Yeah,
it's gone. I took it off the screen.
No, I mean, quite frankly, Tyler and then everyone. I think we had I think a lot of people brought this up in the chat, but I think our tempo is super off this season. I think we are way too comfortable having the ball at the center line versus having the ball in the attacking third. And quite frankly, I just think we need to turn the dial up on the risk on this season because we're doing a lot of things that are working, but they are not creating chances and not creating actually dangerous situations. And I think that at the end of the day is the biggest issue.
Sure, I think that's pretty well said.
We'll see. I mean, again, we'll see if it happens, and if it happens, what happens? Because there's just so far there's no smoking gun, there's no silver bullet. It just is not working right now. All right, folks. So I think we're all in agreement on the attack, and I think this one's going to be interesting. Coaching. So I have a bunch of stats on the right side, and I'll get to why I put them here. But in terms of coaching, yeah, Matt, what are you thinking here?
This is an interesting one. You know, we've seen a lot of, as I mentioned, the same mistakes over and over again, and you can blame players, you can blame coaches, you can kind of go from there. But pulling back up the grading scale, I think it's meets right now. I think we've seen some, you know, we've seen some changes in the lineup. We've seen some shuffles in the formation. But I think a piece to this, and you say coaching, but when you say coaching, you have to remember that Kano is also the GM, and he kind of can control and bring in what players that we can bring in, and not bringing in anyone to kind of help this lack of us goal scoring threat, or these difference makers not making differences, as he phrased it. Well, I think the time to bring more people in and kind of put pressure on these players is been here for a long time, and we need to see that. So I'm going to go with meets, but I'm close to needing improvement. I'm not going to be like some people saying fire Kano out. I think that's absolutely absurd with what he's built in the last year and a half. But I think that we do need to see some acquisitions help turn the tide for this team.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the chat here, which is I think needs improvement. So back to the slide, I put a bunch of metrics here, and there's a reason why I think needs improvement, but there's also a reason why I think it's a tough thing to suss out, right? So we're third in average possession, second in accurate long balls per match, second accurate crosses per match, fifth in touches in the opposition box. We're 18th in fouls per match, which should be a good thing, and then 18th in yellow cards per match. So there's a lot of things that are not going to include in any of these other slides that I think they're clearly like coaching things that are going well, right? Like possessions, like a coaching idea. Getting people in position to cross the ball. Good. It's a good coaching idea. But at the same time, I think tactically we haven't figured out how to make the most of this group. And that's where while having all of these great kind of coaching metrics, which I mean, you can debate, I just don't think that we're still getting the best out of this group. And that is why I am a needs improvement here.
I think that's fair enough. And, like I said, I was between the two, and I think trying to separate the coaching piece from the GM piece is hard in this conversation, in this debate.
Yeah, quite frankly, I almost did a separate slide for GM Kano versus coaching Kano. But yeah, I mean, you could tell the thing that's tough with this team is you could tell they're like, a lot goes into what they're trying to do. Like the system they're trying to play is like very complex, which again is also a coaching decision, which also is something you could debate. But it's just not working right now. And I think that the onus on Kano and his staff is to figure out how to maybe simplify things, or how to, make it easier for this group to succeed, because that at the end of the day is what the job of a coach is.
And Martin brings up a good point that we've talked about. I know you've said kind of in our chat, set pieces, is that not on the coach, both defending and attacking? I think you've said multiple times that you'd love to see a designated set piece coach come in. So, when you think coaching, I think you look at Kano primarily just as being the manager and head coach, if you will. But, there is a whole technical and coaching staff. So what other pieces could totally get lumped in there as well?
Yep. No, spot on by Martin there. Yeah, there's so much in this, whether it's how the team sets up. I know someone brought up the 6 defenders in that one lineup. That's another coaching decision. The everyday tactics and strategy that the team puts out there, whether that's in the regular play, whether that's in the set pieces, corners, things like that. I mean, earlier we talked about a potential conspiracy with how awful our corners are at home. So I think this is, to me, a clear needs improvement at this point. Not from a lack of trying. I think they're trying something. They're trying to implement a system. I just, quite frankly, at this point, I don't know how you can persist with said system because it's clearly not working.
Kevin wants to know what's up with the crowns. What is he talking about, the crowns?
I popped on YouTube just to make sure everything was working, and it's on the YouTube chat. There's crowns. I have absolutely no idea what they mean. I saw Timmy has like number 1 crown, so I assume it's a fraudulent metric.
All right, so I give that a definite significantly needs improvement.
Agreed.
Good.
All right, folks. So next up, the final category is the overall one. I'm going to list a bunch of things in a row, and then we'll talk about it. But we are 9th place in the Eastern Conference. We have the least points at home of any team in the USL. We are 21 points behind Louisville. We have no players in the top 70 in FOTMOB rating. We are 13th in team FOTMOB rating. We have a -3 goal differential at the halfway mark, and we are projected to finish on 33 points. Loudoun last year finished 11th with 42. What do you got?
Significantly needs improvement. This is a, we had the draw king streak, that term that I hate, kind of keeping us afloat last year, but we're dropping and taking a lot more losses than this point last season. I think having won the conference and advanced to the league championship game, expectations were through the roof this season. So it is absolutely significantly needs improvement based on expectations, based on bringing in a player like Maxi, based on the amount of injuries. As having supported a European team who picked up that many injuries, you have to almost wonder, is that a result of the way training goes? But there have been a lot of things that I think have not gone this team's way. And I think it just, we always on here blame the refs. Kano blames the refs. We know that, but I think significantly needs improvement is the only correct answer here. So I'll slot that into the mid-year review.
Yeah, I'm also significantly needs improvement. I think the chatter that I have been struggling with is, last year we started slow and then we figured it out. And the thing about last year is a lot of these metrics that I've been showing tonight were all actually were really positive throughout the season. So like a very simple one, which is not like the most scientific by any means, but like FOTMOB rating, right? Currently, we're 13th in FOTMOB rating. We were last year like 3rd consistently throughout the year. Like whatever we were doing, for some reason, we were always 3rd. And like that always bugged me because like we talked so many times about all these different potential issues. But we were always 3rd. And then all of a sudden, hey, the playoffs come around and like this team gels and figures it out. We are ranked there. Like I think we're all seeing it in the eye test and as all of these other metrics show. My biggest takeaway, you would have thought like a very sad thing happened to me last night walking back to my car because I was just absolutely as bummed as I could be because I just don't know that this team is a good team right now. We're not. With the playoff run last year, I think it may have masked a couple of things that, weren't working throughout the year and, for better or worse, but we're just not good. We're not a good team right now. We are, people shit on Hartford. Hartford has 3 games in hand on us and easily could overtake us in the standings for us to be the last place team. Everyone shits on Miami. Miami's above us in the standings with a game in hand. we've always talked down on teams like North Carolina. North Carolina is sitting very pretty in 4th place right now. I think we're a team that
they're not a good team either. That's the thing that I think frustrates you.
Yeah. A lot of these teams are not very good. I think we have all the talent in the world, but I'm also just starting to get to a place where like you're starting to question that. Do we have a lot of the talent that we thought we did? And are we able to
actually good on paper?
Yeah, but like, are we actually able to dig out of the hole that we've built for ourselves? Because I don't want to keep being the comeback kids. I don't want to be the team that gets hot in September. Or at this point, we need to get hot in next week in July because of how deep of a hole we've dug ourselves. This least points at home of any team in the USL, I think, is
sad.
Super sad, especially when we haven't played the top of the top. We have not played Louisville. We have not played Charleston. We've played a lot of teams that we should be beating at home, which is not a hallmark of a very good team. So as someone can go clip back our preseason prediction stuff, I was, we're going to compete for the Player Shield this year. I couldn't be more unimpressed with the performance we put on. Could not be more, sad about how we're not meeting expectations. And this is a clear significant for me.
Right on. I think we really lack an identity right now, and that's the biggest piece. We are not a goal-scoring team. We're not an attacking team. What are we? We're not a great defending team. So it's just kind of a mixed bag. I think Martin sums it up very nicely. We have great players and have a terrible team. They have to gel right now, and we are not.
It's so brutal when you talk for like 2.5 straight minutes, and someone puts like 11 perfect words in the chat. You're just like, damn it, that was good. Nicely done, Martin.
Well done.
I'm assuming that everyone else in the chat was a S on this one. I did see Quadras. Yeah. Quadras was doing a little too much math in the chat. I saw that. Talking about how none of this was an N, and then all of a sudden we're all S's or S's at the end. But anyways, Mr. Quadras. So final tally, I was hoping to like sneak in the chat here. So Matt had exceeds expectations. All of us had that for goalkeeper. For defense, Matt has needs improvement. I had exceeds expectations, and the chat was pretty mixed on either meets or exceeds expectations. For the attack, I think we all said significantly needs improvement. For the coaching, Matt said meets, and then myself in the chat said needs improvement, and then every single person here was significantly needs improvement. So overall, if I was to fill this in, you'd see a lot of orange, red, and yellow here, which I think really sums up how this season has gone. It's not meeting expectations. I think things need to start clicking now. This is not a draw kings until we just magically make the playoffs. Like, things need to change now.
Yep, we are past the point of no return. Absolutely on this one. Martin says we missed midfield, which he did not have a slide for, but maybe we can add that in on
I was going to do mid. Oh, shoot. I have it still on the table. I was doing midfield, and then I was like, I don't know how I statistically separate midfield and attack and midfield and defense.
Sure.
So, good call on midfield being in this table, but not in the slides. Didn't really know how to suss them out of the two things because I feel like they're very interconnected to the two areas that we talked about.
No, it's pretty well said. Thank you for all your work and all you did on that, Ryan. And thank you to everyone who contributed and made that a interactive segment as well. We're back at it on next Saturday in Indianapolis. Indy 11's fresh off a 3-0 win at home versus Monterey Bay. That's their second win in their last 5. They have 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw, and are currently sitting just ahead of us on points in the table at 17. In 7th place with a -1 goal differential. We're at -3. So it should be a pretty interesting one. See how this shakes out, where you've been able to go there and get a result in the past. Hopefully things can kind of change. We've also seen a situation where we've gone there ahead of the Hartford Derby and absolutely rested, rotated, and laid an egg for that match coming up, which is kind of the same boat we see ourselves in, as we have Hartford twice after that. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. But any final thoughts or thoughts ahead for this one, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, we just need to start picking up 3 points. I was very happy to see in the chat our friend Betts from the battalion and all things Indy, was talking about how bad Indy's been. So that's always heartwarming. repeatedly said in this podcast last year that Indy stinks, and so long may that continue. But yeah, I mean, we also stink, so really need us to be the prevail. We need to prevail of the two shitty teams here.
I think Betts is an absolute Tidetalk legend just on that away end episode. Obviously, the day that I could not make it due to events, but he had other events going on and was able to live stream walking through the hospital. One of my favorite guests. So Betts, let's link up after this episode is over. Let's talk on the socials and let's try to get a preview episode for midweek going in this one. We love talking with you, Jason, as well. Two of my favorite away-end guests to definitely have on anyone. So let's hopefully go there. But I think lucky for you, we have Hartford coming up after, and we know we like to we like to prioritize that. So it's pretty interesting. Iconic Tidetalk moment. Betts equals legend, as Timmy says. But any final thoughts, Ryan?
No, yeah. Honestly, tough one, but always. The chat always makes it great, and I said it in my tweet after the game. It was a really poor performance from the team, but it was a really fantastic night for the city of Pawtucket, for Rhode Island FC, and we're gonna go through ups and downs with this team for a very long time. And at the end of the day, all we have is each other, the community, and kind of the atmosphere that we create. So long may it continue. And I honestly, it's all propped up by the pretzel stand. So long may the pretzel stand continue as well.
I can't believe so many of you have stuck with us throughout this absolute mashup of a marathon episode. So again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Betts, reach out, get in touch. Let's do the preview. Let's do the damn thing. But that'll wrap things up for this one. Remember, Tidetalk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. Click that link in this episode description to follow all of our accounts. I've been your host, Matt, from my good friend Ryan. Thanks again for joining. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the Tide.
Up the Tide.